Hey everyone, welcome to Mid-Ohio for round 3, race 3 of round 4, I think it is. I lost count at this point. So it's the final race of our weekend at Mid-Ohio. And this is actually a fairly special video because I have two guest commentators here with me. They came out to Road Atlanta for the first race, the first weekend of this championship. They've got a YouTube video for themselves, which I'll let them talk about. But Matt and Kody of Nearly Racing. Hey guys.
Hey, thanks for inviting us on the show, man.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to have you. So let's go straight into the qualifying order. Like I said, the way that they figure out the starting grid is they take the first or the best lap from the previous race. So we are starting 12th, which is 2 spots out of our long-standing goal of finishing in the top 10. So we've got 2 positions to make up. I think we can do it. We finished in 10th in the last race, so hopefully we can do a little bit better than that. So let's take a look at the circuit. It's Mid-Ohio. It's the same track we've been at for the last 2 races. But you guys, are you familiar with Mid-Ohio at all? Have you been there before?
No.
Have you ever seen the track before?
Not even a little bit. I've driven through Mid-Ohio, and all the roads I encountered were really straight. So
yeah, and it's also,
No,
I mean,
think
people
he's referring to a racetrack, Cody, not just the highways in Mid-Ohio.
Central Ohio. Well, it is pretty much smack in the middle of Central Ohio. And you know, I think most people think of Ohio as being really flat, but it's got a remarkable number of elevation changes. Nothing like super steep, but everything, especially the S's in turns 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, they really make a huge difference with how you take the corners.
that's awesome. And it looks like there's a couple of straights too. Yeah. Does it get pretty stretched out?
Well, there's the one long straight, which is where we actually take the start of the race. It's sort of the main straight, and then there's of course the start-finish straight, and then there's that straight after turn 1 going into the keyhole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the back straight is pretty long.
What?
Of course, it sets up the best passing zone of the track too.
Yeah. What? So for someone like me who's never raced Formula 4 F1600, what's the top speed you're hitting on that back straight?
We're getting to about 134 miles an hour.
Oh man, froggy.
We have the telemetry data on the screen, but it's in kilometers an hour, and I've tried to change it, but the software isn't cooperating very well. So we're rounding the keyhole, getting ready to take the start. The pace car up ahead will take a shortcut off the track, and then we'll get the green flag that you can sort of see off in the distance. I should really get closer to that guy in front of me. So we're taking the green. We're on the outside of the track, which is not ideal for getting a good run into turn 4, but that'll set us up really well for going into turn 5, this really awkward kind of left-hander over the crest. We're trying to hold our position as well as we can. We're on the ideal line right now, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. So we're able to hold through there, and now we're trying to ring around the outside of turn 6.
Looks like there's a guy peeking up the inside. Is that the guy who
there's contact.
Ooh.
And wheels touch. That's the danger with the open wheel cars. I mean, it's even more dangerous if they lock together. But yeah, so trying to avoid that. We let, I think that's Sam Lockwood or Ryan Bjerke in front of us. We let him get ahead. But those two guys, they have basically the same color car. One of them has like yellow stripes, and the other one has like greenish yellow stripes. So it's really hard to tell them apart.
Did you get hit by a
Yeah,
little
there's a
debris
lot of. I noticed
in
that
that
when we were
contact?
down there in Atlanta, a lot of these cars have very similar liveries.
Yeah, I think because I mean people don't want to spend too much money on painting their cars, so they're fairly simple, which is probably part of it. Just simple colors, and the one team with 4 cars, Cahill, all of their cars are identical, and it's impossible to tell them apart. But they're usually way in front of me anyways, so I don't worry about them too much.
Did you get hit by debris in that contact? It looks like there's something on the camera now.
I don't think so. Maybe I just got a little bit of dirt or dust.
With a classic.
Open wheel,
Splatter.
open cockpit.
But whenever anything like that happens, your first thought is, are they going to go to yellow? is there going to be full course yellow, and they haven't done it yet. So at this point, usually if there's a full course yellow, it would come out after a couple corners. But now we've completed almost an entire lap, and we're still racing. So you're thinking, you can see the safety truck up ahead, which is a little bit sketchy. But at this point, you're thinking, well, they're way off the track. It's unlikely anyone's going to try anything dangerous through there. And in these cars, it's a simple flat out over the crest. It's not very dramatic. So they might get away with fixing that, clearing that wreck up with just going with the local yellow.
Local yellow, yeah.
Someday I'll learn how to talk.
Yokel yellow is
what's-
that thing where you paint your carriage yellow, I think. No?
Yokel yellow, it's like an off yellow.
Right, yeah. It's like a farmer's version of yellow.
Is it like that greenish yellow or like that yellow stripe on the red car?
Whoa!
Ooh, a
Oversteer.
little counter steer. What's?
That's sketchy.
Ooh, and into the grass.
Yeah, so I really messed up that corner, and you can see in the mirror they're starting to gain on me a little bit, or quite a lot. I can see one guy making a move on the guy behind me, and he comes up to the inside. That's Mike Scanlon, the guy that I've been battling off and on with pretty much throughout the season. But while we're looking at that, I think the full course yellow did come out while he was making that pass, so he's going to have to give it back. I think I saw the yellow when I was driving before he made the pass, so I just sort of let him have it, and now you'll see how I take it back. I think he knew what happened, so.
Nice.
Right.
Was that... So that corner got a little squirrely. Is that one of the elevation change corners?
No, it's actually pretty flat, but it's very fast, and it's very difficult to get your timing right for your turn in.
Yeah.
And if you mess it up, then you're gonna have a really bad time. Usually, I think, because usually when I go through it, I do lift a little bit more than I normally would if I had a bigger budget and I could afford to throw the car in the wall every once in a while.
Right.
Right.
But so what I've been doing is I give it a fairly decent lift, like before you get under the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that there are some corner workers standing there right by a black block, and that's
Yeah.
sort of where I turn in. And I lift and I turn in, and I try to get back to power as soon as I can because it settles the rear end. And then you're basically just relying on the front tires to pull the front of the car around to get down the next straightaway. I think what happened there is maybe I didn't get back to power soon enough, or maybe I turned in just a little bit later, so it upset the car a little bit. But that's, just a little bit of an error can have a big consequence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of time too. I'm really lucky that the yellow came out when it did.
Now, and is this full course yellow seems like it's having the effect of kind of bunching up the whole pack and getting it
Yeah.
kind of tight again?
Yeah, so yeah, like the front pack got away from me, but now they're right in front of me again. Full course yellows always have the effect that kind of effect. And that's actually why they're so popular, especially in NASCAR and IndyCar. And you can see my hands. I'm just trying to
Who
put my
are you
hands
waving
off.
at there?
It was a really hot day. If you look at my steering wheel, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the engine temperature was doing some funny stuff.
Oh, good.
And if you remember the first race, I actually retired the car prematurely because I thought it was overheating.
And it
So
was
I'm a little bit wiser now.
What was it, overheating, or was it just running hot because it was hot?
Yeah, it was running hot partly because it was really hot out.
That'll
and
have
I
that
also,
effect.
yeah, it does.
Rocket
and,
science over here.
Yeah, this is like high-end racing knowledge that you guys are getting. I hope you're taking notes. But what happened was I went off track and I collected a lot of grass in the radiators.
Oh, wow.
And so I think I was being really paranoid because it was making it hot, but it actually gets as hot this race just while I'm following another car. So like when people talk about Formula Ford or Formula 1600 racing, they always say, well, we don't have wings, so we can follow each other nose to tail through the corners without the dirty air affecting our handling. And that's true, but it does affect the engine cooling. So
Right.
you might notice when we get back to racing, if I'm in clean air, the engine runs just fine. It's a little bit hot, but it's okay. But when I get close to another car, you'll see the red blinking lights come on, which is the temperature warning, which I
Whoa.
think I have it set at about 205 or 210, which is a little bit low. I talked to an engineer afterwards, and he said you don't really have to worry until it gets up to like 215, 220. And if it gets over 220, you should park it wherever you are.
Yeah, I seem to remember them saying, especially last year, that in Formula One, the Mercedes were having a harder time following other cars than a lot of the other teams because of the overheating issue.
Mhm.
Not just because of the dirty air, but because they were having trouble keeping their engine and brake temperatures where they needed to be when they started to get close to other cars.
Yeah. Yeah, and that affects all the way down to our level as well.
It's crazy.
And so how many laps has this full course yellow been out for now?
I actually don't know.
Several.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to have somebody on the radio that tells you when the lights in the pace car are out, but you can also just keep an eye on it. So you can see it blinking. So we've got at least one more lap, and we do the start of the race on that back straightaway, but any restarts are going to happen at the normal start-finish line. So with where we are in the field, we're probably going to be in the middle of the carousel when we go back to green racing.
And I saw that when I was looking at the track map earlier. Why do they have a different start line than finish line?
So basically, because turn 4 makes a better first corner than turn 1. Also because the straight is a lot longer, so it's easier to get a nice formation of cars to take the start.
Right.
And also because if you look where the start-finish line is, there's not a lot of room between that and where the turn 13 and the carousel are. So you're going to have cars in the middle of the corner trying to take the start of the race, and that can get really hairy. So it's basically a little bit more competitive, and it's also just it's easier to make a cleaner start.
Is that where they start the IndyCar races at this track too?
Yeah, on the back straight. It's kind of interesting that so the Indy cars, they have the Road to Indy with the 3 under series.
Yeah.
And
Right.
for the Indy cars are the only one of all those series that start on the back straight. The rest of them start normally on the start-finish line, which doesn't really, it's really weird.
And a quick update from my end. I don't know if anyone can hear this, but there are some college students having a party upstairs, and they just started playing some loud hip-hop. So if you're wondering what that sound is, that's what you're hearing.
Okay. I occasionally have some sirens passing by, but I don't think my mic can pick them up very often.
I thought you were going to say you sometimes play loud hip-hop as your backing music.
Matt, if it's any consolation, I can't hear loud hip hop. I just assumed it was you breathing heavily.
So it looks
Yeah,
like we're going back to green right now. I'm trying to, I think I was caught asleep a little bit. You want to be on the gearbox of the car in front of you when you take the start, unless you're trying to be a little bit sketchy and like jump the start a little bit and get some momentum. And the funny thing about that is the farther back you are in the field, the less likely you are to get caught. So it's a good tactic, especially in the really low horsepower karts that you guys race. Give like a one or two kart lengths in front of you of a gap, and then just hit the gas right before you think the leader's going to go. If you're ever, that's how you do a rolling start.
Noted.
Well, I remember them. I remember them talking in at Austria this year. I think it was, or maybe it was last year. Valtteri Bottas got like no delay between the lights going out and him starting. And after they looked at it, they basically determined that he had jumped the start, but the lights had gone off at the same time. And so he had basically gambled and gotten away with it. So even up to that level, there's still a little bit of that calculation, it seems like.
Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of battling going ahead,
This is
going on
awesome.
ahead of us. And that lets us catch up to them. So I'm hoping that I can stick with them.
Now, that was
while.
just an overtake, right? That the blue car was a position ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
corner's back,
on track
right?
pass,
Okay.
and you can see. I guess they gone out, but on the straightaway just before that, yeah, you can see right now the red lights are flashing on my steering wheel. That's the temperature alarm that I've learned to ignore by now.
I'm sure it's fine.
But we're just trying to get clean laps to inch in front of this guy, and hopefully we're enough. I think I turned in a little bit early there, or he missed his apex entirely, so that's
Yeah.
going to help us close this gap going into the keyhole. And hopefully, I think I'm defending from a car behind me.
I haven't seen anyone in your rearview mirror in a second, actually.
Yeah,
Oh, there he
I don't
is.
know why I did that. Oh, maybe he is. But yeah, so now we're on the back straightaway, trying to get a good exit so I can take advantage of the draft. The more cars there are in front of you, the bigger the draft is going to be. But of course, the car in front of me has a draft from the car in front of him, so it's negated a little bit. And I really should stay closer to the line that he's driving.
Yeah, he looks like he's being a bit laissez-faire with with his corner placement.
Well, that's, I think I alluded to it before, but with the turn 4, because you go uphill right after that apex,
Yeah.
you want to keep the car to the left and let the hill sort of bring you up towards that left-hander. So you're not going to compromise the right-hander as much as you would.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So that's one of the secrets of Mid-Ohio.
Noted. You heard it here first, folks.
I'm taking notes for, whenever.
Does that also
So
apply to the
here.
highways?
Maybe the highways in Mid-Ohio,
Mm.
but I think you have some experience with that, so...
Yeah, I have some friends from Ohio who have given me all kinds of fun Ohio facts, so I'm just gonna pepper those in throughout this commentary.
Go for it.
So the first of those is that Wendy's, the famous Wendy's, was founded in Ohio, and apparently they are very proud of that. Who knows why, but they are. Huh. Maybe it's the honey mustard.
You know what? I've recently become obsessed with their creamy sriracha sauce.
Oh, man. That's just creamy
I
sriracha
I have
sauce
not
in
been
general,
introduced to
though.
the creamy sriracha sauce.
Oh yeah. Next time you go, get some chicken nuggets and get some creamy sriracha sauce. It's
Noted.
So good.
That's like whenever I go to eat sushi. We're talking about sushi while we're watching you race right now, so I'm sorry, this is my fault. But that aioli you get, the spicy aioli, gosh, it's like sriracha mayo. You just eat it by the spoonful. This stuff's so
That's,
good.
That's disgusting. but
Sorry, everyone.
also
We're here for
understandable.
motorsports, not my diet.
Why is this? What is? I see something marked on the map called China Beach, but as far as I was aware, Ohio is landlocked. So can you give a little insight onto that?
That reminds me of a funny story that I like to tell. I don't know how funny it is, but so my first ever race in Pro Mazda was at Sebring, and we were supporting the 12 Hours of Sebring. So there's lots of people, there's lots of promotional stuff going on, and there was a practice session, and I was coming out of the really fast turn 17, really fast, really bumpy, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a cruise ship. So I'm going down the front straightaway at 130 miles an hour. I'm like, oh, that's cool. There's a cruise ship here. And I think, well, wait a minute. We're smack in the middle of Florida. How did they get a cruise ship here? And so I keep an eye out for it the next lap, and I realize that it's like a giant blow-up thing.
No.
What in
Yeah.
the world?
An inflatable cruise ship? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're in Florida, you expect to see cruise ships, no matter
Yeah.
what part of Florida you're in. That's just the Florida. It's just the Florida effect.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're from a landlocked part of the north like I am. We never see cruise ships. I mean, I guess in New York we do, but in Pittsburgh we don't. And actually at that point I hadn't lived in New York City, so my brain was not attuned to seeing cruise ships and making that cruise ship to coast connection. It's like anytime I see one, it's like, oh, that's cool.
Seems like you're keeping. Well, first of all, I noticed that they changed positions again, and you're doing a pretty good job keeping pace with them.
Yeah, and I think I'm doing a fairly decent job of keeping pace with the rest of the pack too. They're not getting away too quickly.
Yeah.
What's the draft distance you're looking for in these cars? How close do you have to be to get kind of an effective draft on the straights?
I think where I am now, I would feel a fairly significant effect from it. And then of course the closer you get, the stronger it is. And as you get closer, also you're building up momentum, so it gets faster and faster and faster. But it depends a lot with how you get out of the next corner. So I always struggle for some reason with the keyhole. So it'll look like I'm gaining on them, but for some reason I won't. And of course, it
Seems like
depends
you're
on.
taking a little bit of a different line through the corner than at least the guy in front of you was.
Yeah, that's. I'm pulling my hands off again. Yeah,
So
that's.
you're cool. You're trying to just to get air running over your hands because they're getting so hot.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was like 90 degrees out today.
Good grief.
Ugh.
So,
I've done
yeah.
that in a kart enduro before because my hands were starting to cramp up. But I've never done that because my hands were so hot. Ooh.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever really done it before either. But yeah, it was just getting really hot. Usually I don't notice how warm I'm getting. But of course the rest of your body, your head is sticking out. So you get airflow over your head and sort of your shoulders and upper body area.
But it doesn't help much when that airflow is 90 degrees.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. It does make a significant difference. Like if I was just sitting in the pit lane, then it would be awful. But sometimes in a practice session, like in a hot day, you'll sit in the pit lane and then you'll start rolling, and it feels like somebody throws a bucket of ice water on you.
It's summer. I'm here for any and all the ice water anyone will throw at me. Whoa, what's going on there?
I was just hitting the curve. I think I turned in a little bit too much.
Cody's very curb averse, and I love the curbs. I think I probably scrub more momentum than I need to on the curbs in the karts, but I've seen Max Verstappen do it, so it can't be too bad, right?
You can use. I mean, the turn 1 curve is a little bit different because it pops out of the pavement a bit, but most of these curves go right down to the level of the track, so you're not going to upset the car too much if you use them. Something that I think I did notice is that these cars have an open differential. So if you get on the power too much while you have too much cornering load in the car, then you'll spin the inside rear.
Ooh.
And if you hit the curbs pretty hard, then it'll unload the rear and you'll get a lot of wheel spin. So that's, I think, one reason why I'm not using them too much.
I one time was in Houston and went out and did some concession karting at a new track there, and they were open, but they hadn't laid down they had poured the curbs, like the cement, but they hadn't laid down the covers, and they were still letting people run concession carts. And I just remember how I was very paranoid about not hitting the curbs because they were just like, the normal road curbs you see, but they're just these big flat cement curbs, and you're driving this little open wheeled cart, knowing that if you do hit that, you're gonna have a wheel that's pointing a different direction than the rest of them, probably on the other side of the corner.
Yeah, and if you get in an accident, then you might have a broken ankle or something.
Ugh.
But another thing is that, so I think I may have mentioned this in another video, but there's nothing on my display that excuse me, that has any sort of reliable lap counter. So I actually never really know how far into the race I actually am.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
it says lap 13, but sometimes it definitely counts the pace lap as one lap, and sometimes when we come out of the false grid and go past the start-finish line, it'll count that as a lap as well. So even if you just memorize how many laps the race is, that lap counter is not really reliable. It gives you a sense of like how far you are, but it just sort of gives you a general idea. And you can completely forget about me. This is why I never tell you that, I'm currently running in 9th place or 10th place, because I don't know.
Is that something?
See, that drives me insane, is the not knowing part of being out on the track, where it's kind of like, just keep putting in fast laps. Like, I want to know what position am I in? How far am I from the guy in front of me? And that's something that I guess you kind of get, that's really nice about racing at like the karting complex at Atlanta Motorsports Park, is they've got a live timing system you have access to. And so we can kind of pull up the app and see how fast the laps we're putting in, the difference to the team in front of us. And I don't know, there's something, I realize that it's not, that at one level it's like just put your head down and make a fast lap, but for some reason there's this, I can't get over wanting to know.
Well, I mean,
how
it's
I'm
the
doing.
reason. It's the reason motorsports have become so much about data, right? Like, people talk all the time about it losing some of its purity, about it not being about just having the huevos to go fast, or the skill or whatever. But data's really helpful, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Well, it's helpful when you get out of the car and start looking at it and trying to figure out how to drive faster and how to make the car faster. But
Yeah.
when you're on the track and in the moment, there is such a thing as too much information.
Yeah.
Right.
So one of the things that I struggled with a lot when I was racing in Pro Mazda is that this system and the system I was using back then, they have what's called a predictive lap function. So it combines your data with your current lap up to the point that you're at with your best lap. So it can tell you if you drive the rest of your lap like your best lap, this will be your lap time. And it's cool, but it's incredibly distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
it takes a lot of discipline to either just turn that off or to just ignore it. And when I was younger, I didn't have that discipline, but now I do.
So
So
what's your
sorry.
ideal state as far as data goes? Like, what do you want to know? What helps?
Well, when I'm in the car on the track, pretty much just RPM and gear number if I have a sequential.
Mm-hmm.
This has an H pattern, so it's pretty obvious what gear I'm in.
Okay.
But yeah, I think with the position would help, knowing what position you're in. Lap times, I guess it kind of, like in qualifying, it kind of depends on what mood I'm in. During the race, I really don't care about lap times. I don't even look at them at all because they're not important at all. I think what I have on my display, I'm not sure how well you can see it in the video, but I have RPM number, which I never look at. I just look at the shift lights.
Right.
Right.
I have my lap time pops up when I go across the start-finish line. I have my best lap. I have a gear position indicator, but it doesn't really work.
What does that mean?
So there's no sensors in the gearbox. It actually calculates what gear you're in by using track speed, ground speed, and your RPM. And then it uses that and
That's interesting.
like your tire diameter and your I think just tire diameter, and then it figures out what gear you're in.
So it's
But-
just
So the
guessing.
computer says, I think you're probably in this gear.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also have to tell it how many gears you have. So right now, I think, yeah. So now I'm in first gear, and it's like it's going between first and second, so it's trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's not entirely reliable. But of course, since I have the H pattern, I know what gear I'm in anyways.
Right.
And then I have two configurable diagnostic settings, and I have it set to water temperature and oil pressure.
And those are the red flashing lights.
Yeah. So yeah. But you can set up alarms independent of what's on the screen, and there's also several different pages that you can program into the display. So if you see those, the 4 different buttons on the bottom of the display,
Yep.
I can use the right 2 buttons to cycle through different pages, and on those I can have a whole myriad of different things. Pretty much any sensor on the car, you can have a setting for, and it can tell you how much or what value they are currently plugging into the system.
Golly.
Now, my Fiat will make a loud chiming sound whenever you drive over 85 miles an hour. Is that something that this will let you do, and would that be useful in a race?
What was that?
I said my Fiat 500 chimes at me when I drive over 85 miles an hour. It makes a real loud, annoying chime. Is that an option that you have? Would that be useful to get yelled at by the
no.
car?
No, that would not be useful. But what I think, I might be giving myself away, but if I ever get a teammate, what I think would be a really great prank is to set, so when you set an alarm, the way that I like to do it is I have the 4 lights flashing, and then there's a message that comes on the screen that tells me what the alarm is about. So it's like, the message will come up and say high engine temperature, or whatever you have like 15 different characters to put in whatever you want. So, and you can also configure how the alarm is like dismissed. Oh, I get a ping.
Ooh.
I think I got some lockup there. I think that was what happened there was similar to what was happening at VIR, where the engine revs dipped down unexpectedly.
So you got
and
some
when that
lift off
happens,
oversteer?
when you have a different sound than the normal sort of engine decelerating and and downshifting, it can be very disorienting to the balance, what you sense in the balance of the car going into a corner.
Yeah.
So it can throw you off. But going back to the alarm,
Right.
you can also change how you dismiss the alarm. So you can either have it not be able to dismiss it until the value goes down or above whatever you set it at. You can have it so that you push a button to dismiss it. As we get the checkered flag, as we're sitting here chatting with each other. So if we take a look at the results, we finished in 10th place. So we accomplished our goal of getting another top 10, just barely, just squeaked in there.
Right.
Ryan Bjerke was that car in front of us. Joel Haas, Mike Skellen finished behind us. Dario Ken Jalosi comes with the win, the first of the 3 Cahills. So that's it for the race. Anyways, what I was getting at with the prank would be to set an alarm, something like if you drive above 40 miles an hour, and then set the message to being like you drive like a loser or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
So that when your teammate rolls out on the track, they get this message that the car is like yelling at them.
It's
And
like
they can't clear
it's
it,
like
and
Kit
there's
from Knight
nothing
Rider.
to be done until they come back in.
Yep,
It's a good prank. It's like a hostage
Yeah.
situation in a sense.
sort of, yeah. So do you guys have any last thoughts or questions, or
No, it seemed
or,
like you.
you know,
It seemed like you
you
drove
guys want to
a.
make fun of me for anything?
I was gonna actually give you a compliment.
I mean,
but let me see if
honestly,
can
I was
make fun
I
of
was
you
gonna make
instead.
fun of you for all the sliding around, but you held it together so well. It looks like it's a really rough track in some spots too.
There's that one bump that we're about to hit here. I guess we're not.
Yep.
So that was the white flag. Like I said, it's hard to know. So there's the checkered flag. I've
Okay.
given away our finishing position. I'll have to maybe cut that
Spoiler
around in
alert.
editing. But what was I saying? There's that one bump at the apex of the carousel.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a pretty smooth track. There's
Alright,
no
well.
other places where it really causes many problems.
I'll accept being called wrong, or being called out for being wrong. I just have high expectations of asphalt.
For racetracks, sure. I mean, I guess if you guys are used to Atlanta, that place is pretty new,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's got really nice asphalt, I'm sure.
It is
But I
better.
never gave you guys a chance to plug your channel. What are you guys about? As we're on the cooldown map here, waving to the. Oh, look at that fresh green field with all the fans in it.
Oh my goodness. Acres of cheering humans. Well, we're currently, if you look at our channel, we look like we're pretty about karting. And right now that's very true. But we're about learning to race. So we don't really have any background in motorsport. We're just really stoked about driving and racing, and have been following motorsports and motorsports culture for a minute, and kind of got tired of sitting behind a screen and wanted to get out and get our hands dirty and have an accident or two and go fast. So
And so you guys are trying to sort of figure out how to get into motorsports from a complete novice perspective. Is that right?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely that. Matt claims that he's faster than me already with when we started from basically the same point. So I don't know. A little bit of competition helps us get better faster, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys are sort of like teammates now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's true.
Throw a data system on your carts, and you can take notes from each other on data.
I like it better without data. We can just talk crap all the time, and no one has
That
to
way
actually be
you
right
have
or wrong.
You have a stronger argument
Exactly.
that you're faster. There's no hard data.
Yeah, the loudest person wins, and I think I can be the loudest. Which is apparently true right now. I don't know what happened to Matt.
Yeah, Matt, we're not able to hear you if you're saying anything.
Oh, that's odd. I've been talking and thinking that everyone was ignoring me.
Yeah, well, we were, but
we
for
can hear you
other
now.
reasons.
Okay, I've been giving lots of great independent commentary on the so you'll hear it on the recording.
Oh, okay.
Good.
We'll just all talk over each other.
It'll be like political talk radio. Oh, look at that.
Right. So who can talk
Anti-speed
louder?
home.
There's our very modest setup.
I think you overshot the tent a little bit there, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm doing there. Oh, you know
just
what?
wanted a
Because
little more time in the sun.
This was our last race, so I'm parking it so that we can load it up into the trailer easily.
So thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys, I think I saw on your Instagram that you drove an SR1, a Radical SR1. Was that your first taste of a car?
Yeah.
Proper
It
race car?
was. Yeah, first time we've been in a car ever.
How was it?
It was a lot of fun. It was a half-day experience from a new racing school, and we're gonna do the full 3-day school. But at the half-day, they paced us, and we barely ever. It was hard to get the shift lights to come on, and the car was still because of how much we were limited in pace, and the car was still doing 115, 120 miles an hour.
The
And
Radical
they're,
SR1 was crazy too, because it's got active aero, which is like stepping even from driving cars fast into driving a car fast with active aero it feels so different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, driving even with static aero, going from a road car or even my F1600 car into a car with like real actual downforce is a huge difference.
I think I actually misused a term there. I think SR1 may only have static aero, but it has aero.
Yeah, it does.
Is more what I was trying to
It has aero
say.
that works. It has functional aero, if that was what we meant by active.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's wild.
So maybe you guys, when you get to a point, you should give me a call and hop into my car.
Yeah, that sounds.
Twist our arm.
We'll do a compare and contrast, and then hey, maybe I'll let you jump into my Fiat 500. We'll see. But if you don't, if you go over 85, it'll chime at you.
Right. So we should take it on a racetrack, but limit our speed to 85 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Right. That seems safe.
Maybe you lose points for every time it beeps.
This sounds like
So you're still
a
trying
challenge
to
in the
set
making.
the fastest lap time, but if you go over 85,
Yeah,
you get a penalty. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
We are all about the arbitrary challenges. So.
Absolutely. Arbitrary challenges that revolve around being slow for some reason. It's an exercise in missing the point.
Yeah. Well,
We're trying to cater to Kody,
What is it that
can't
they
help
say? It's more fun to drive a slow car fast than to drive a fast car slow.
Man, I live my life by
Do
that
they say
truth.
that?
Yeah, some people say it. I mean, of course, it's a lot more fun to drive a fast car fast.
Yeah, that's the pinnacle.
Haven't
That's
had
the
that
dream,
experience
as they
yet.
say.
Go in there.
But
We do
I
a
think
fast
that-
car medium.
Yeah, I'd rather drive a fast car fast.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's gonna bring it to the end of race 3 from Mid Ohio. In 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to my actual home race of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh International Race Complex. It's a really cool track. I started my career there racing go-karts at the karting center. At that time, all they had was the karting center and like a really short road course. And it was like that for a little over a decade. And then I think the people that own Road Atlanta bought it, and they expanded it into a proper road course. They just built a brand new timing and scoring tower, so it's a really awesome facility. I think that in terms of the facility itself, I think that they're pretty much at the point where they could host like an IMSA race or something. They should probably put in a few more barriers and fences and gravel traps and stuff, but it's a really cool facility. So I can't wait to go there. Continue this momentum of 2 consecutive top 10 finishes, decent pace, and hopefully we can keep going onward and upward. So thanks to everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out Matt and Kody at Nearly Racing. I'll have a link to their channel in the description, and a link to the video of them coming to Road Atlanta as well. So thanks again for everybody for watching, and I'll see you in Pittsburgh.